Nompumelelo Ndlovu.
Yes.
You've got a problem with your name?
No, you can call me Lelo.
You prefer that
Yes.
as a brand?
Yes.
I do Vusi Tembe while you were here last year, and he was trying to explain, but I was like, where? He was trying to explain that Kono Vusi and then there's VT.
Okay.
He's like, when I'm at home, I'm not VT. That's the brand. I'm Vusi. I'm like, okay. The importance of brand versus your name. Does that mean anything to you? Jobu Tulelo, is it no, Nompumelelo is my slave name. I want to be Ulelo. Does it mean anything?
Not really. Nompumelelo is, I don't view it as a slave name or whatever. It's just that I prefer the brand to be Lelo, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from here on, that's what I must call you all the time?
Yeah, Lelo.
Okay. Did you see, are you voting this year?
I have to, because I need to make a difference, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does voting make a difference?
I think so. Isn't it that when you don't vote, automatically your vote goes to the ruling party?
Nope. There is no such thing.
Is it? Then I don't have to vote then.
Who are you voting for?
I have no idea.
What are your top 3 political parties? Or top 2?
None whatsoever.
ANC?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
DA?
No.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
EFF.
You know what? I like Malema, and the idea, but I don't really think that I would really want him in power as a president.
Therefore, you will not vote for the EFF?
I am not sure.
Oh, so that's a maybe.
I'm undecisive, yes.
Action SA?
No, don't know anything about Action SA.
Who else is up there? Gayton McKenzie, Patriotic
Definitely
Alliance?
not. Gayton McKenzie for me would make a really good Minister of Police.
Minister of Police?
Yeah, not someone that would govern the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
ACDP, Christian Democratic Party?
I have no idea who they are.
Freedom Front Plus?
None whatsoever.
ATM?
Nope.
PAC?
None. Don't know about
UDM?
them. No.
Azapo?
No.
BLF?
Don't even go further. I don't even know those people. Yes.
Tutuzane Zuma's been here before. He's officially, as we record this on this day, I don't know when this episode is dropping, he's officially launched his political party's name. I don't know if he's at a launch of the party. I don't know if you saw it. It's called the HEC.
I've heard about it.
HEC. All Game Changers.
Okay.
Interesting, right?
Very interesting.
The name of your channel when you launched it, called the Game Changers.
The podcast, yes.
So you and Tutuzani decided, Ekse Baba, this is what we're doing.
We think we're going to change the game.
Would you vote for Tutuzani?
I'm not sure.
He's a maybe like Malema.
Depend, yes. He's a maybe like Malema.
Musi Maimani?
Definitely not. I wouldn't vote for Musi Maimani, just like I wouldn't vote for Zuma, just like I wouldn't vote for Cyril Ramaphosa again.
Why not?
I don't know. I just think that we need a more modern president, someone who's, into today's ways of thinking, more. I just think that, the ANC has shown us that, their way of thinking is too backward. So we need change. So in order to get change, we need to create it, right? So, yeah.
You reckon Umus has had his chance? Because he was leading the DA?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
We can kick it off. I sent you questions, particularly because you are skilled in this space. And I think it's going to be very important for the audience.
Okay.
A lot of us have a dream, especially Tennis Pume Makasi, of one day owning a home.
Yeah.
Very symbolically, we were kept from, outside of townships with apartheid, we were kept from owning beautiful homes. So we have this dream of owning a home. What is the difference between renting and buying? And is it a straightforward decision to you?
I think the question is not really what is the difference between renting and buying. The question that people should be asking themselves, or if you're ready to ask yourself that question, should I be renting or should I be buying? The conversation is, am I ready to buy?
Okay.
Or should I stay renting? Because they all have negatives and positives. Because, for example, if you're looking at purchasing your own property, there's pros and cons. Just like if you're looking at renting, there's pros and cons. Purchasing your own property, for example, you could be renting a 20,000 rand property. That's your rent.
Yeah. And
somebody says, what? You've been staying here for how long? For a year. You could actually buy your own property.
Sure.
You can get a bond with the current interest rate of 11.75%, if I'm not mistaken. That's a property that's around about 1.8 million, And you can get a nice property to that value in a nice suburb. So why don't you get your own property and pay the 20,000? And Bob's your uncle, and then you run and you go and you purchase a property, put in an offer. But then you find that there's more to it when you are a homeowner, because now it's not just the 20,000 rand rental. It depends on your earth. The bigger the earth, the more rates and taxes you pay.
The earth is the plot?
Yes, the stand, the plot.
The stand, okay.
Yes, so which means you have to pay the city of Tshwane, Kurleni, wherever you stay, rates and taxes. Then, of course, there's insurance, because you must understand, if you're going to be using a financial facility like a bank, it's like when you purchase a car, they don't allow you to go out with the car at a dealership before it's insured.
Sure.
Because, and actually a car is like, and a house is comparing bananas to apples, because the car depreciates. So they still need you to have insurance, should there be an unforeseen circumstance. You might have children, there's load shedding, you've got candles on, and there's a fire. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or there's somebody comes and damages your property, something like that, So that's another cost as well. So for an earth of about 1,000 square meters, 1,002 square meters, you're looking at paying rates, depending on the suburb, actually, of anything between 1,000 to 1,500, 1,800 rand. If also you have to consider where you want to buy.
This is in rates?
Yes.
Out of 20,000, I still have to cough out another close to 2,000 just.
Absolutely. If you're buying in an estate, it's even worse, because there's homeowners association, and you're looking at paying about 3,800 rand.
For what now?
For just rates and taxes. You're paying the city for their rates and taxes. For having the services, water, lights, and whatever, even though you still need to buy your own lights. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The maintaining of the property, should you move into that property and there's a crack on the wall, it's you have to fix it. Yeah. But when you are renting, you are paying exactly that. A rental agreement and a offer to purchase rather, is two different things, So if you are renting, should there be a cracked wall, you just call Penuel, he's the owner. Sure. He must come and fix the wall. Should there be a plumbing burst or whatever, you call Penuel, he's the owner. Sure. Rates and taxes as a tenant, it's not your duty, it's the owner's duty. You know what I mean? And then the negatives of renting and then also, the positives of renting as well. It's good for people who are flexible. So that's why I'm saying it's not about what's better, renting or buying. It's where am I in my life right now? Am I going to be staying in South Africa, or am I someone that's going to be moving, So with renting, the flexibility that it offers you is quite good, because should even maybe an unforeseen circumstance like a COVID-19, let's say, for example, or fluctuation or whatever, and you can't afford the property anymore, you can just put in a notice and up and leave and downgrade to a smaller property that you can now afford. But when you are a property owner, you have to keep your job, because you have to keep up with that payment of the bond. But the best thing about owning a property, though, which is why most people get into property, is appreciation.
The property value?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you're buying in an area that's developing, because it's also important to look at the area that you're buying in, not just to get into it because I want to own a home, Sure. Is there going to be a park that's going to be built in that suburb that I want to build in future, Is there maybe going to be schools, plans in place to build schools in that suburb in future, But that can also work in reverse, because the suburb itself, the people that are living around the suburb, can make the suburb depreciate instead of appreciate in value. So all those things you need to put into play. I think if you are at a point in your life where you're saying, listen, I'm not moving, I pick a suburb, I'm picking Bryanston, I'm going to have children in Bryanston, get married, raise my family, and I need to leave tangible legacy, like a property, sure. For my children, then you're ready to buy a property, and I'm stable in my job, I know I'm going to keep my job. Or maybe I've got a business that's running, my business has been running for more than 5 years, we're making quite good returns, I'm ready to buy, my financials are looking quite good, then you can buy a property, for appreciation.
No, thank you. I'm glad you answered this before I even asked, because the assumption is always that property appreciates. No, a property, it goes up in value. But you've got neighborhoods, we normally use these ones as examples, Hillbrow, Yeovil, that used to be upmarket neighborhoods back in the day, and they've deteriorated today. So it's important for people to understand that from a property perspective. The second thing is, it feels like something went wrong somewhere. Because I'll speak about my mom's house. My mom was a school teacher in Newcastle. And she managed to move us to the suburbs, which was pretty dope in Newcastle. Yeah. She bought her house, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been something like 160,000 rand in 1998. Yo, busy discussing your finances. It could have been 160,000 in 1998. You fast forward to today, and it's worth maybe 1.2 million, which is great. That's when people speak about appreciation.
Yes.
Yo, property. But I think it's because property was undervalued back then, during apartheid and post-apartheid early. And then I don't know if it's greed or what happened, where it almost feels today like properties become so expensive. Our generation celebrates it flat.
Yeah.
1 million, and we post pictures on Instagram and Twitter. And we can't afford the houses that our parents bought at the time. In your opinion, do you think the market is fairly valued? And if it's fairly valued, that means there shouldn't be much appreciation.
Yeah.
If it's undervalued, it means that it's still going to go up. Or if it's overvalued, it means, look, a lot of the areas, and this could have been what happened with the recession in America. A lot of the areas are actually overvalued. And over time, realtors won't be able to sell unless if they lower prices.
I think it's fairly valued. It depends on how you look at it.
Sure.
Because if you're thinking about it, I was actually going to touch on that if you are a person that's buying property for long-term investment, because obviously your mom, what she did was a long-term investor.
Sure.
So which is some of the positive about owning a property, because it's like you have a savings account that you're putting money away into when you're paying your bond. And you know that one day you're going to tap into that savings account. Right now, your mom is good if she still has a property.
No, you have to pause there. You're speaking too fast.
Okay.
Buying a property is like opening a savings account.
Yes, it's like your long-term savings
What does
account.
that mean to an ordinary person?
It means...
So Indlu, Lelo says I just opened a savings account. How is it a savings account? Because I obviously can't access the money. Imali bank.
That's where appreciation comes in. I'm trying to explain in layman's terms appreciation.
Sure.
So you have a savings account. If you're paying your bond and everything goes well, presumably, that you are able to pay your bond every single month and you keep up with the bond, So 10, 20 years from now, say maybe you put in extra into your bond pocket and your interest rates, you paid them off quicker and all that stuff. And 20 years from now, your children, like let's use your mom as an example, are grown and they move out of the property. They've got their own properties, their own families, and you decide the house is too big for you now. She bought it for 100,000 rand at the time, for example. She's selling it for 1.2 million. She's paid off the bond. The property now fully belongs to her, because just because you buy a property today, it doesn't mean you get the title deed. It stays with the bank.
Sure,
or
that is true.
Yes,
So
now she sells the property for 1.2 million, and then she can go and look for an apartment that suits her, that fits her, that is 700,000 rand, and she's got change, and she can buy a second smaller property, and that's how she now starts getting into investing.
Okay.
For rental.
No, I understand it in that context. You spoke about people that are sure. I'm in Bryanston. My business is doing well. I want to raise my kids here. For most new graduates who are maybe 22, 23, 24, 25, it sounds like the suggestion is don't buy it. Even if you're earning, you got a nice qualification, you got hired by a big 5 bank, law firm, auditing firm, you're going to be earning 40,000 a month. Don't buy. Maybe give it some time. Maybe till 30, maybe till you get married. Because Nakona, if you're buying at 22, you don't know who you're going to marry, where you're going to live. Give it some time, and only once you have a 10 to 20 year forecast of, I think I will be here for 20 years, then consider. Is that the advice?
No. Like I said, it also depends again. Properties, it's very broad. Sure. So it also depends on what are the reasons for you for buying. If you buy younger, I think I've always said that it's better to stay. Let's say you still have your family home and you've managed, luckily, miraculously, you finish school at 21 and you get a great job. Stay at home for about maybe 5 years. Further.
5 years?
Yeah. And listen to me.
5 years.
It would make sense. Okay. Obviously, the graduates won't allow it and you always want your freedom as quickly as possible. But that would make perfect sense, because then you start tapping into property investment. So you can start earning passive income while you're still living at home. Because you must understand, while you're still living at home, you are not paying rent or bond, okay? But you're already starting to build your own little investment properties. So by the time you get into your 30s, half of the time you're done with paying bonds on some of those properties. Do you understand? And now that starts making money for you. Because especially if you're going to use a financial institution, you know, and let's say, for example, I got a bond for 2 million rand and I bought this property and I'm going to use it as an investment property and I'm getting rent. Maybe the rent is about 25,000 rand. It covers my bond. I pay a little extra for rates and taxes. I'm not making any profit yet. It's not an investment yet. It's long-term investment. I'm only going to make profit once the capital, which is the money that I borrowed from the bank, has been paid to the bank. So that's when I'm going to start making profit. And that's why I say you have to, you know yourself. Are you a short-term investor or a long-term investor?
So from what I'm hearing, you're saying, look, from a home perspective, you agree with me, take time.
Yes.
If you can live at home with your parents, great.
Yeah.
If you can stay somewhere else that's cheap, stay there.
Yes.
But now that you're earning money, we're not just saying property is only for a home.
Yes.
It could also be for investment.
Yes.
So if you're young, maybe look into opportunities for the long term.
Yes.
Outside of your home, where this can be a passive income generator for you.
Yes. And eventually it can be your main source of income. You know, you could be a solidified property investor, you know, so in the long term, provided everything goes well, you know, you get the right advice, you know, you get the right realtor working with you, because sometimes realtors, all they're out there to do is make a commission, of course, because we're also there to make money, you know. That's another way of making money in real estate. So you also have to vet your realtor as well. You know, speak to your realtor, find out if they tell, because I've had clients who come back to me sometimes and say, listen, I bought a property 3 years ago. We're looking to buy us a second property. You know, we've learned a few things. We've watched a couple of videos. But the first time we bought a property, this person said it's the right thing. We didn't even understand that there would be extra costs. You know, like what I've just said to you now. It's all good and well, someone saying, go buy a property and own, but they don't tell you about the extra costs and the maintenance of the property and where you are buying. And you find that people who buy homes have this idea that I want to be in this luxurious estate. Have you seen the levies in those estates? It's almost your bond. Jeez. You don't even use that much lights and water and electricity. You know, when you purchase it yourself, but what you're paying to the city, it's a whole lot of money.
You gave examples about rent and buying at the beginning, and you spoke about passive income, and you spoke about if a young person is investing, there might be a chance at the beginning that they'll be covering rates and taxes and I guess maybe levies in an estate. There's a lot of people that go into property blindly, and I think we've been sold the story as young people. What would you do? I'd invest in a property. And I find a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And then you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and then he sells you dreams about owning 1,400 units.
And there's Grant Cardone.
And then there's Grant Cardone as well. Cardone, however you pronounce it. I've seen a lot of people get burnt in property because of the naivety. And one of the first things that really, really upsets a lot of people is levies. You buy a property, it looks decent, and even when you do the maths, student accommodation somewhere, maybe 6,000 rand, the bond, and then you're like, look, rent, I'll squeeze it to 5.5. Okay, I'll make a 500 rand loss. Doesn't sound too bad. Lelo said long-term investing, so this is me at the beginning. Then there's these considerations of, at that place, there's a 1,500 levy. Which now increases your 6 to 7.5. For student accommodation and other types of property and flats, there's months where there's no one there. Then you see flames, and students leave November, December sometimes, and they give you notice in advance. So December, January, you have to cover yourself and you didn't budget. Do you think property investing is still something people should speak about, or do you think it should only be for people that have been educated?
I really think you need to get educated about it. you know. And sometimes you might have the opportunity, maybe younger, to start investing in property. Maybe you had a good family that prepared really well for you, and you've got some funds that they put away for you, you know, and you've learned the skills of, you know, getting passive income or working for yourself or investing in property from your family, and you want to, you know, carry that on. It's important, you know, like I said, it's important that you choose the right realtor and not go into it blindly, you know. For example, I've got this property that's currently on the market, you know. I think Township investment, it's currently booming right now, you know what I mean? And
Township properties?
Yes, Township investment properties are currently booming right now, especially in Ekurhuleni, because it's in between Johannesburg and Tshwane. And because when you're looking at investing in a property, you're looking at not just for you, but for your tenant. Because is it... like you said, you'll find that you go into an area and it's tough for you to get tenants. So in places where it's a township like, you know, Ekurhuleni townships, they are close to most amenities, the factories, the airport, public transport. Most jobs are that side as well, you know. So you're not going to have a tough time finding tenants. You also have to look at the... you know, is it a high tenant area? So not just to put yourself and tuck yourself somewhere in an area where it's going to be really hard. It's close to nothing.
Just because the bond is cheap and what, and then you struggle with the tenant.
It might be good for you as a homeowner with your own car and your own life, but it might not be good for the student who needs to use public transport. So the chances of you getting a tenant there, it's really slim, you know? So with that property that I have, it's actually zoned... you know, to have tenants, right? It's got so it's a double, it's got a lower level and an upper level. So the lower level has 7 units, and you know, these days the landlords are modernizing the units now. It's no longer back rooms where umuntu ageza part with Vascom or something like that.
Those were good days. Those were good days.
So now this one has 7 units downstairs. They have a little kitchenette, they have a shower, toilet, all of that, and the rent is going for about, I think, 2.5, 2.7, somewhere around along those lines. And a property is a 1.8, obviously negotiable, but for 1.8 with the rates currently at 11.75%, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not hearing what you're saying. Rent is 2.5?
The rental for
the
each
tenant.
Unit, yes.
And you're
There's
saying
7
for you,
units.
it's 1.8.
Okay, let's
let's backtrack, please.
So the property is built for lower level and an upper level. So currently the lower level is built. There is 7 units in the lower level, right? And all those units, each unit brings in about 2.5 rental on a monthly basis. I'm not really good in math. You can do the math, but I think it's plus minus.
I don't know if I'm good in math, but so haslisha.
Yes, I think it's a plus minus 18.9, right? 7 units, 2.5.
Oh, you multiplying.
17?
You multiplying?
Yes, I'm multiplying.
No problem. It's a calculator. So much no mamu at the back, so...
So yeah, somewhere
17.5.
17.5, right? The property costs about 1.8. So now looking at, you want to invest in Township now. The property costs 1.8, right? Which means your bond with the current rates of 11.5, 11.75.
You said?
Yes, 11.75%, which means you'll be paying about 20,400 rand.
So the 1.8 is 1.8 million for the property.
1.8 million.
Okay, I thought you were saying it's 1,800 versus 2,500.
No, 1.8 million. Okay, and then you'll be paying about 20,450, I think, as a bond. Your property is bringing in already 17. We said 0.5.
Just with the bottom.
Yes, 17.5. The rates and taxes, they're about 575, somewhere there to 600. The earth is about 431, which is highly unlikely in townships.
Hitting me with a lot of numbers, but yes.
To have such a huge earth. So it's quite a good investment. Your tenants got parking spaces and all of that. Now, because it's planned to have upper buildings, there's already slabs, you know, which means that if you should you wish to take the building up, it's going to be easy for you. The stairs are already built, the slabs are already there. There's protection for the slabs should there be rain and you take longer to actually finish up the property upstairs. But once the property is complete, because it's also built for an extra unit, you can easily make a good 38,000 rand. With the bond repayment of 20,000 rand, now you're starting to make little bit of profit because your bond is 20,000 rand, your property is making about 30, 38, almost 40,000 rand.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But now, if you invest in it now, it's a long-term investment at the current state that it's in, because it's 17,000, bond is 20,000. So you have change that you have to add on top of that. On top of that, you have to add the rates and taxes.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And you said you're selling this currently.
Yeah.
I always worry. One of my favorite guests to come here is Ubabusfiso Matondo.
Yeah.
So he owns a construction company called Ichombela.
Okay.
And I've been on some of his sites. Him and I have spoken about property investment a lot. And I've learned from him, but not just from him. I've learned from a whole lot of other people that are in property investment. It's just a little note from me before I ask a question. For people that are into investment, property, buying land and to develop, it's just a tip. If ever you're planning to go up, make sure that the foundation you build is very deep. And then make sure whoever you're building for at the bottom, you build, I don't know how you guys do the ceiling or the roof. It's built in such a way that the day you guys want to go up, it's easy to remove the roof and then just to add.
Yes.
A lot of people have a shallow foundation, and then when it's time to go up, it's like, structure. And this is why I guess you need to get professionals and engineers.
It's
and
like
the like
exactly what I just said now. The property is built
to go up.
And there's already slabs already. Slabs are, I think, very expensive. You know, so if it's already got slabs already, it's quite a good investment. You know, so when you said that if you are a new person on the market and you've heard all these nice things from all these social media motivational speakers who tell you about investing in property, you don't just plunge in there. And you don't know, you don't have education. You know, you need to educate yourself and also hire somebody, a property practitioner, that will advise you based on your current status right now.
So that's my first question. You've spoken twice about vetting your realtor, your real estate agent, the person who's managing your rental or your purchase. For an ordinary person, what does that mean? Does it mean, no, but Lelo, I've seen her face on all the boards, so clearly she knows what she's doing? Or is there like a basic checklist of guys, ask these questions, look at these things and
I think, you know, like you're saying, it's true. You know, there's not really a right way of knowing is this the right realtor. That's why it's important to have your basic education. You know, you don't have
for yourself.
Yes, you know, to have basic education of where you want to buy and all of that. You know, and once you've got the basics, because you're not going to you're looking for a property, you're excited. You're not going to go read a book or watch a video on property, because all those videos tell you different things. And that is why I'm saying, when I go back to the first question of renting versus buying, most of these videos will tell you buying is more important. So you're looking at what type of, who's talking to you. Is it a person that's talking to you from a perspective of, I want you to buy from me? You know what I mean? And then some people will tell you renting is better. Is it a person that's a rental estate agent that's looking at it from a perspective of, I want you to rent my prop from me? You understand what I'm saying? So with the realtor, vetting your realtor, and, you know, just determining if this is the right realtor, the questions they ask you, you know, how much do you earn? You know, do you have any extra income? You know, what are you buying the property for? And sometimes I'll meet clients and I say, why are you buying the property for? And they'll think, you know, that's quite rude. And then I have to explain, I'm asking because should you want to, you know, you've got another property perhaps, you want to invest, you have children, all of that, I can advise you better from that perspective, you know, and that's a realtor you want to work with.
Do your own basic research, your own basic education. I like what you're raising about. Find out the why of the realtor. What is your motive? Are you going to earn commission? How much are you going to earn? If I choose this, you'll make less money. What if you don't make any money? Are you still going to help me? Do you genuinely care, or is there something else? And even if there is something else and you want to make a lot of money, tell me, look, I'm trying to sell this property. And unfortunately, from what I've seen, your industry is almost similar to second-hand car dealerships in that people really try to offload stuff that's been sitting for a while. And they sell a lot of dreams, and it's sad. I wanted to reference this book because I was going to ask you, and you can add on if you want. I just want to get the name right because it's one of the books that I know. Making Money Out of Property in South Africa, Jason Lee, is one of the books that I read back in the day, and it's one of the books recommended, especially after you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, because they're more American markets. And this one even goes into the taxes and where else would you say people can maybe learn just basic before I go to a realtor? you're telling me about motivational speakers on social media. How?
Yeah.
So where do I start? Do I Google? Where do I start if I want to just get a basic understanding of the property industry?
You can call an urgency a firm. Not from I'm looking to buy perspective and I need a realtor, but if you can call a firm and ask property consulting firms as well, or realtors that deal with property consulting as well. They consult with you before you say, just come in and say, I'm ready to buy a property, but I just needed some education, and them finding out why you're buying the property. Like I said, what's your budget, what's your earning capacity, all of that stuff. Where do you live? The area, are you looking for long-term investment, or really you just want a short-term investment? I work with a group of investors who's a family actually, and I've been working with them, I think this is the third year now, and they are property short-term investors. They believe in just buying a dilapidated property, flipping it and passing it over to someone that wants to invest long-term.
Do you offer property consulting? Would you be open to people contacting you and being like, yo, Lelo, please teach us?
Yeah.
We want to know.
I do.
I want to plug as well. I went to Varsity with that Rhodes, Nicolette Mashile, who's made a lot of really dope content. She's almost become a specialist now.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, she was as confused and as dizzy as the rest of us.
Yeah.
And she'd literally discuss these things. She's a property investor as far as I know. What did I want to ask? I wanted to ask banks, because I know it's one of the things she's spoken about. Yeah. Do you think all the banks are the same? If someone wants to buy a property, I know as we're filming this, West Bank / FNB are in trouble because one of their ex-employees, I think contractors, has gone out to say they've been charging black people higher rates.
Yes,
and it's not the first time, because back in the day, when First Rand FNB bought Sambo, there was a lot of legacy apartheid stuff. I worked in banking, so I've made videos explaining to people the system I worked in, Absa personal loans, and also at Standard Bank, vehicle and asset finance. The system doesn't have race as a criteria. We used to take race at Absa, I don't know if they still do, for statistical purposes. But for the machine itself, it doesn't pick up because we give a score for everything. But people have gone on to say, Pen siyakuzwa, but at the end of the day, it's not your bank. You're not the CEO, and you don't actually know what the system does out there. And there's these stories even today. Emerald Van Sale is this man's name. He's on Twitter X at Interreg, I think is his name. He's been fighting a lot of these banks, Standard Bank as well, I think Nedbank. In your experience, in your opinion, are all the banks the same? Are there some banks that are better than others?
No, they are, definitely. Some banks are willing to negotiate more.
You can name them, sorry, that's why I'm asking. So we don't have to be general. You can be
usually what we use is all the four major banks, Nedbank, FNB, I think Standard Bank, and Absa.
Okay.
And then there's now SA Home Loans, which has come in, and they've got a mandate with the housing subsidy with the government. So if you are a government employee, and most of them don't know this, and
most government employees don't know this.
Yes.
Okay.
I've met a lot of government employee clients that don't know that they benefit. I think it's less rates, or sometimes their affordability. It's a bit. They don't really afford to buy a property based on the criteria or the standards of a normal, bank like Absa, FNB, blah, blah, blah. And then SA Home Loans caters for them because the government puts in a little something in their pockets.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah. So if you're a nurse or anything like that.
Nurse, police officer, school teacher, administrator, if you work at Home Affairs.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. One of my mentors, Kulufelo Maponya, part of the Maponya family, he's a shareholder at SA Home Loans.
Yeah.
We've spoken a lot about some of the work they've done there. And again, having come from the banking space, I wasn't even aware, I don't know if it's still the case today, that SA Home Loans signs the most home financing deals, particularly because they still, I don't know if they still do, maybe they've changed, but they used to do individual versus a system where they literally go one-on-one. So it's a great plug, especially for government employees, even though I was kokelanga, but
yes,
you know what I mean?
But it is what it is, because I think I've had a lot more wins with my clients, using SA Home Loans, because you get acquainted with one of the agents, the home loan advisors or whatever they're called, and when you have a certain client, most of the time you'll find that a client's credit status is really good, but because of the history or whatnot, sometimes the banks won't approve them, and you go to SA Home Loan and they get approved.
Sure.
Yes. Another thing that the banks do, I don't know about the race thing, but I know one thing that the banks do is if you've got a degree, you get a certain discount on your interest rates.
If you have a qualification? Yeah. Really?
Yes, not a diploma, a degree.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to investigate. Yes.
I think they think that...
He pays high interest.
No, I think they think that you are going to stay employed for longer.
Fair
Obviously,
enough.
they're giving you the loan, expecting that you're going to stay employed and you're going to be able to pay off your bond until you're done with it, you know.
I want to tell you an interesting story. So I've done a deep dive on banking and all these things. And back in 2012, I had a dream of building a cashless society.
Okay.
Even though today it's a conspiracy.
Like your Bitcoins and stuff.
Not even Bitcoin. That's something else. I just wanted a cashless society where we can send each other money as easy as we send WhatsApps.
Okay.
For free. I don't know if Michael Jordan, ex-FNP CEO with Zero Bank, it's something like zero charges. And at the time, my concept document was you can pay bank charges if you want, or you can watch an ad.
Yeah.
And then you can transact for free, something like that. But during that time, because bengu mashonis in those days, one of the things I found out is I think it was in Australia, because we've got TransUnion and Experian as our credit bureaus. They had this innovative system where if you don't have a credit history, they could use, because it's all actuarial science and probabilities and stats, they would ask you certain questions about your life, which would predict accurately if you'll pay back. So something like, do you have a degree? For someone else would be like, what's that got to do with anything? And you'd be like, well, the actuaries have told us people with degrees don't struggle with work, they tend to pay well.
And they tend to get promoted. That's
and they tend to get promoted.
Yes.
Sure. Race, unfortunately, is a real indicator in this country. It's legacy and it's wrong. And it's because of our socioeconomic factors that, look, you are going to be high risk because you're black, because most black people don't have money. They struggle, they get retrenched, but we're not allowed constitutionally.
And we're more risk takers. We're more, we'll take the wrong decisions in future. We're more likely to
Which
take
is
the
not
wrong
fair,
decisions.
because it's lack of financial literacy because of the past. But in Australia, they'd ask silly questions. So I'm going to make something up as an example. I ask you, have you ever traveled out of the country? Oh, yes, I've been to Spain before. And just that might make you lower risk. Because it's like, you are mobile. So you don't have a credit history, you don't have a credit card, you don't have any, but you've traveled abroad.
Yes.
Have you ever run a marathon? Yes. Oh, that means you're health conscious. Because that's how I think Adrian Gore and Discovery, not Discovery Medical Aid, the bank has got its own algorithms, but it's, the idea is if you have read these books, if you have traveled overseas, if you run marathons, chances are you are a conscious person. And a person like you would probably not default on their installment because you are aware of your life and you care about it. And it would be great if our banks or other financial institutions would come up with innovation like that.
And I've always, now that you think of it, I've always been really irritated with that question, race. If there's an application form for a home loan,
they say it's for census and statistical.
Black, white, colored, Indian. What does that have to do? I mean, you already know my income. You already got my background, credit background, and whatever. What does my race have to do with me? So I could believe that.
You spoke about township property. You and I had a small debate when you had the launch of the Game Changers podcast. Do you now believe in township property, or do you still think it requires a deeper? Because one of the things I said at that time was, from what I've seen, urban property, man, is overpriced. Then there's levies and those things. Ekasi, a lot of those things aren't there. The extra levies and the rates are not high because of the area. I will have to say this because it's important. A lot of the people that build, they also buy a bridge. So they don't pay for electricity and those things, which becomes big costs.
To bite them.
No, of course, it's wrong. Guys, do not do that. But I'm just saying a lot of people build there. And then in terms of what you're saying about tenants, the fact that there are tenants there, and do you think township investment is really a great thing people should be looking into? Or are you still more like, look, maybe do urban, it's more organized and
I think I was a bit misconstrued because I think at that time the topic was about which is a better way to
Invest
invest
your money.
for a certain type of investor.
Okay.
And at that current moment, we were talking about, I think as a short-term investor, someone who just is in it to make a quick buck and then invest in something bigger and, leave,
Sure.
and versus, so we were just talking about long-term and short-term investments. And I really think at the current moment, township investments are the best versus urban, you know, because like I said, it also comes back to the rates and taxes that you're going to pay. In an urban area, you're going to pay more rates and taxes, and also finding tenants as well. In this day and age, which tenant are you going to find easy? Because, if we, truth be told, the majority is middle class or maybe lower class, you don't, the higher class, the luxurious property is the 1%, so we've been told, So you have to cater for those people as well. So I think township is quicker investments.
Okay.
It's quicker to pay off depending on where you're buying, obviously, and what type of property you're buying. It's quicker for you to, even if you buy just a 4-roomed property in the township, it's quicker for you to turn that into back rooms and whatnot and start earning and pumping money.
It's difficult to build in suburbia.
It's very difficult.
The town planning approvals and the Ekasi, even though you're supposed to get approvals, you can just put up my rooms, Baba, and get going. Have you seen Indlu? So there's a company called Indlu. I think it's called Indlu Investments. I stumbled upon them 2-3 years ago. They go around apparently currently to townships finding people with homes where the stand is cool, and then they offer to build for you units. And then they manage the tenants, and then they give you a cut of that. You haven't heard of that?
I've heard of that. But it works like, I think how it works is you got a nice big earth. They build outbuildings, Lapo, those units, Lezo, and then from there, they take the rent. You stay there for free. Obviously, it's your property. They give you a certain small percentage of the rent they collect. You have to have an agreement. Say you're going to say it's 7 years, and then after 7 years they're done, and then whatever it is, the proceeds thereafter belong to you. So it's like a time based.
Does it sound like a good deal to you?
No, it sounds like a rip-off.
Why?
No, it sounds like a rip-off. How do I allow someone to come into my yard and give me a certain percentage for a number of years? Basically, it's like renting out your commercial property.
Sure.
Yes, that's how it's like. It's like renting out commercial property.
But they building. It's not your money.
I don't think.
And they managing the tenants.
I don't think I would do it. It's just another way of ripping people off.
I think they're trying to gentrify. I don't know who's behind it, by the way, and I don't know the race. But I think they're trying to gentrify townships. Number one. Number two, I feel like they want to own a database of tenants. To a point where if ever they leave your property, all your tenants will disappear. And you'll almost have to beg them to come back at like a similar deal. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, especially for people that are like, look, I've got land. I'll never be able to build. I'll never have the money. So, sis Lelo, no I believe in land. At least I get a cent. But I think for those of us with a bit more education, we need to have a more holistic conversation around it.
I think it's really just taking advantage. I mean, and also you must look at what type of people do they approach. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm going to be approaching an old lady staying in a little 2-roomed house, asbestos, a gasi, who's really, that extra 1,500 rand, because I mean, how much more are they going to give her? She's going to be able to buy lights and a little bit of groceries. I think that's the type of people that they would target, because a normal person like you and I, in my own property, a gasi, allow you to come and build a room and give me like a 2%. Does it really make sense?
I wonder what the contracts have to say in terms, because you brought up the example, if ever what happens to that property? Would you have an agreement? Or how many of those properties they've maybe even convinced the owners, we have a good relationship. Let us give you 100,000. And then, Salusus Daisela, this whole thing. The importance of contracts.
And the agreement, does now the property still stay as a freestanding, or does it become sectional now? Because, there's investors that came into my property and they've built out buildings, and you're practically owning half of the person's stand.
The importance of contracts, number one, and then number two, leading into, if you can please tell us about some of the different ways that people can make money from property. But the importance of contracts, specifically because I raised Indlu, which a lot of people, whether they're buying, whether they're renting, we don't really read contracts. And how important are those?
It's very important, especially the contracts from your banks.
We definitely don't read those. And they're written in small print. Will it sign here? No, you don't have to. Everyone. Sign in Allah. Okay, nala. Now it's just standard stuff.
It comes crossed actually, that you should sign page 1.
Yes, they put the
right.
cross.
Yes. And
no one reads those things.
They don't. And then also the term of repayment. Sometimes jabula because the current rate is 11.75 and you're 10%, you sign a fast, and then you'll find out it's 30 years. And you're or 35 years repayment term, and you're gonna be, tied to a bond for those number of years, and you don't know the future. So the shorter the term, the better. So let's stick to the standard 20 years. And then because it's easier for you to make that to work toward making that 10 instead of 20. Unlike if it's 30, 35, and looking at how old you are at that current moment, how old are you going to be by the time you finish paying off your bond? Would you even still be working?
So
you also have to look at those things as well. You are asking again.
So that was the first question, the importance of contracts. And I'll add on to that question. The next one is making money from property. I'm just an ordinary guy. Contract. Where should a normal person take the contract? Is it to the realtor? Can you trust the realtor? Should they take it to someone else? Sometimes lawyers are expensive. Because I almost want people to know that you almost should never sign anything until someone who is hopefully not going to make money from this thing reads it for you. Where can people take contracts before they sign them?
I think everybody has, maybe not everybody, but most people have that family member. Yes, that can read a contract, And Angisho Manje, because of this, we try to hide when we do certain things. Like, I've got this goal, I'm busy buying property, I want it to be a surprise.
Of course.
Because whatever it is, social, whatever,
lawyer.
Yes, exactly.
Lawyer.
So everybody has that friend. Or at work, at your office, if you are, because obviously if you are employed, you can give it to your boss, give it to the admin lady to go through it, any contract that you know. That. So there's a whole lot, because obviously attorneys and salespeople are similar.
Correct. They're there to make a buck.
They're there to make a buck, and they'll tell you what you want to hear and not really what you need to hear. So,
How can we make money from property? So one of the ways is rental income, which we call passive income. Are there any other ways?
Most people go into it for the appreciation more than anything.
Okay, so the property goes up in value.
Yes.
But you only realize that once you sell.
Exactly. And also rental.
Okay, flipping. You mentioned
flipping
one of your clients.
Is my favorite way of
you buy a house. Money. I used to watch Masters of Flip.
Yeah.
What a great show, even though it's in a manga. So you buy a property you said you must look in an area that looks like it's good, but the property is maybe not that great.
Flipping and auctions.
Flipping at auctions?
Yes.
Please, can you expand?
There was a client, it's actually my sister's client. My sister's also into real estate.
Okay.
Who, sometimes occasionally you would go to do an auction for a client. Bought the property about, I think, 1.2 million rand at an auction. It is in Serengeti Lifestyle Estate. Those repossessed properties, and you bought that property for 1.2 million rand. That was a giveaway. I think the next week she sold it for about 2.5 million rand.
Jeez.
So already that guy has already just made his profit in 1 week. Okay. And then flipping, you just go to Ekasi, for example.
Yeah.
You get to a Ilokshini, Lapo is like 400,000 and whatever.
Sure.
Lucky you've been saving up pen, you've been, very good with your finances. Yeah. You've got 400,000 rand to buy that property.
Sure.
You are going to spend, obviously, first you need to look at the area before you even make that offer. So if the market value in that area, you can sell for 1 million. Let me give you a practical example.
Sure.
And the property that you've been offered is, let's say, 400,000 rand. Yeah. And then you actually get in touch with your contractors, your plumbers, your electricians, and to renovate the property and to fix it up is going to cost you an extra 250 rand.
Yeah.
So that's 650,000 rand you've spent, which means including your renovations, you've literally bought the property for 650, right? It's a property under 1 million, so there's no transfer costs. there's just attorney fees.
You don't
right?
pay transfer duty for properties under $1 million.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
you
important.
So in an area, in that way, flipping makes money because the market value of the area is $1 million for a certain type of property.
Sure.
You bought the property 400,000 rand in that area with $1 million rand market value.
Yeah.
And because that property was not maintained properly and it was dilapidated, it was like breaking down, and you bought it for 400,000. The people just want to leave it. They can't take care of it anymore. You fix it for 250 and it was 650. You spend about, I mean, I can't see how long it's going to take you, you know, and there's always contractors here and there that this neighbor knows, you know.
Sure.
So it'll probably be a month, 2 months. And within a month, 2 months, you sell it for $1 million.
350,000 profit.
Exactly. Move on to the next property. You put in the profit, you add whatever, you move on to the next property.
I remember at some point I didn't try to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think I have money and house, but I was considering areas like Pimville, Soweto, which is a pretty dope area. And I've looked into Alex. It's just Alex has got very complicated stories. Where I was
it's
looking
also
to
a
get
very
into.
high rental area.
No, it's very high rental. Mangabanga, some of the properties I know where Alex, Segwa Forthwa, on one, you call it an earth, one stand, khona mhlawumbe abantu abawu 18 noma room awu 18 eyi1 iphezulu enye ifohlelana enye babridgile ugesi omunye ne-ensuite shower omunye kumele basherishe itoilet. But when you hear how much they make, because Njobusho, it's high demand because it's opposite Sandton.
Yes.
Very high demand. But I've looked into some of those areas. There was a site, I hope it's still there, myroof.co.za,
yes,
where banks would load all the repossessed properties.
Yeah.
I'd learn later that it's normally if they haven't given those properties to some of their connected people that they know normally buy before.
Yeah.
So people would go to myroof.co.za, repossess properties and look for them there. You speak about auctions. Where do people find auctions? Where do they go? Lelo, I just want to learn.
You can look it up, you know, and look up the area in which you're interested in buying.
Okay, so you go onto Google and you type in property auctions,
yes.
And then you type in the area.
You look up the area that you want to buy. There's, for me, because I'm mostly in the East End, there's a big one in a suburb called Glenmarais. You know, where there's Glenmarais, where there's auctions. I think it's every Tuesday, if not every Thursday. You know, and all the banks, you know, they give mandates because it's the sheriff, obviously, when it's auctions. You know, and people just go there and they just make offers. There's
Oko. I don't know if it's on the highway, if I'm not mistaken. When I was working at Standard Bank, I was a manager for collections. Yeah. And part of my portfolio was visiting vehicle auctions. It was on Wednesdays and forget the other day. There's one here close to Sophia Town. And then there's Park Mall. Yeah. There's also another one on the M2. And then there's one, I said Joburg CBD. Just for people that are interested. Not to buy, just to go there and learn. And the other important question that people would ask is, do I need to have cash if I go to an auction? Must I make 2 million or is there another way?
You have to have transfer costs. I mean, if
transfer costs.
Yes, and you have to pay them immediately.
Jeez.
You know, so if you can't pay that immediately, I mean, what are the chances that you're going to get a bond? Because for you to be ready to buy a property, you need to have saved up 10 to 20% of the value of the property that you want to buy. And that's your attorney and transfer costs.
You get pre-approvals for properties.
Yes, you do.
I asked this on the back of even auctions, but even normal property. You go to your bank, you're like, I want a letter of how much you guys can pre-approve me for. So that when I go to an auction or to Lelo, I'm like, look, if bank says I can maybe qualify for.
That's another thing you need to have when you come to an auction and you're going to be buying using a bank.
Yeah,
a pre-approval letter from the bank. Because the ones that you do online, that's not pre-approval. Everybody gets approved on those online ones.
You qualify for 500,000.
Yes, because you can put whatever you want. But now if you're using a bond originator, you know, which I work very closely with a very good bond originator who also works with the 4 major banks plus SA Home Loan.
A bond originator is someone who gets you property or clients?
Yes, who negotiates for you to get approved by a bank. And say, for example...
As an ordinary person or as a realtor?
As an ordinary person. Okay. So if you are my client, I take my purchase offers that I do with my clients. Like your offer that you made with me, it goes to my bond originator. And then she's going to negotiate for us with the banks for us to get the deal through. You know?
That's too dope.
Yes. And then sometimes it happens that it comes back, the approval, and the rates are a bit too high. And some clients say, look, I've been really good with my finances. I need them to negotiate. I need her to negotiate the interest rates. And she does. And it sometimes comes back favorable.
No, thank you. I just want to add on the property, because property is such a vast industry. We've spoken about rental income.
Yeah.
We've spoken about flipping. You've spoken about auctions, which is also flipping, sometimes even without touching the property. I mentioned Indlu, I mentioned myroof.co.za. Construction is one of the ways to make money through property.
Yeah.
If you can find a way to build, even if it's not building, you can start like Umutsipe. Umutsipe, before he got into mining, owned a company which, I don't know if it's called cleaning gold shelves or something. It's almost, my understanding, and Abantu will correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost something like when the mine has sebekupile and they found their gold, nina niyafika senzo cleaner, but in you cleaner niyakwazi ukucosha some gold and then ithola
That's mostly people who are invest in commercial property. Okay. Because the chances are you're going to come across an area that's got minerals is in commercial property. When you're buying land, you know, and you're buying it, and then obviously Mansologun Aka constructions, and then you figure out, yay, minerals. That's immediately a very high investment. You can get returns, a lot of money from that.
So there's people that can build, but then there's people in property who are just electricians, just plumbers, just DIY. I mean, we could argue that aunties are cleaner and stuff. They're making money through property, especially if you're in an area where there are many complexes and flats. I used to have a removal truck for furniture. Just people must open up their minds.
Electrical compliance people.
Electrical
they
compliance.
Actually, they spam the realtors a lot because if you can get a person that you work out a deal with, because and a realtor sells a lot, and every time before a property can actually get lodged, there needs to be electrical compliance certificate.
That's issued.
You understand? So the realtor can contact you all the time. They have a client that's just about to get lodged on a property.
Conveyances
as well.
Sorry,
they make a lot of money.
I interrupted you. Sorry.
Yes. I just wanted to go back to auction, the negatives of that, because they don't disclose all the information. So
of the property?
Yes.
Hey,
there's certain stuff that they hide. You might just get into an auction.
That sounds illegal.
It sounds very illegal, but it is what it is.
Someone must go investigate. But please carry on. They don't disclose everything about the property.
They don't. I think they don't disclose sometimes how much the property owes in rates and taxes.
When you buy a property for 200,000, but you 2 million.
And because they send you emails, I'm sure you are now registered, because you have to register and pay a deposit. So it depends, like I said, where you are going to be doing your auction. Some places the deposit is 20,000 rand and it stays there for the period that you will be coming to the auctions at that place.
It's important what you're raising. It's so important. We inherited, as a post-apartheid country and an ANC-run government, we inherited a country and an economy that had a lot of debt racked up by the apartheid government for whatever ends that they had. And unfortunately, ANC to accept this debt. And today we're still liable for this debt, of which a big chunk of our GDP and the money we make, or rather our budget, a big chunk of it is paying just the interest, not the debt on its own. It's like buying a property and all you're ever paying is the interest. You're not even touching the capital. And what you're raising is important, because people need to be aware when they, I don't know if it's only on auction or also if you're just buying a house from a real estate agent, that you need to ask about, does this house owe money? I need to know.
I think from a real estate agent is safer, because the conveyances that we work with as a firm, automatically they have to get through the municipality before they can even lodge a property or sign transfer to see how much the current seller is owing, because the current seller is liable to pay all of that 3 months up front. Do you understand what I'm saying? So once the property registers and you move in, then and you change, from the previous seller's name to yours at the municipality, you registered, then that previous seller can go back and they can get their refund if there is a difference that's left.
So
if you're selling, you also need to do that. But with selling, it's easier because you can decide whether you're going to use the proceeds of the sale of the property to pay the rates and taxes that you missed because maybe you were in areas. You understand? And you can speak to the attorneys and they can bridge some funds for you. And because they don't keep the money, it stays in a trust account. And luckily, it does garner interest.
Thank you.
Even transfer costs from a buyer's perspective. If you paid your transfer cost, let's say you make an offer today, and on the offer you say, I'll have my transfer cost in 15 days. Should they invoice me quickly? And they invoice you in 15 days and you pay it. And it takes about, let's say, for example, the seller has issues and it takes maybe 10 weeks.
Sure.
While your funds are in that trust account, they gain interest.
Which you're meant to get.
Yes, you're meant to get those.
I saw something in a contract. I used to rent in Auckland Park when I was a student. Apparently, deposit yako is meant to sit in an account somewhere. And if there's interest generated, it's meant to be yours. Are you aware of anything like that?
That's the one. Because
it's totally interesting. Deposit.
I'm sure that's why it comes back to the realtor that you use, the knowledge that the realtor has. You understand? So, it deposit yako a bank. A trust account, attorneys. The monies get transferred once the sale has been finalized. Even you as a seller, you don't get your money until the property is registered.
Yeah, that's something for people to check. Wherever you're paying a deposit and check your agreement, is it sitting in a trust account? Is that trust account maybe invested in a money market? And if that's the case, you should be asking. And maybe this is also a warning for realtors to start considering people and stop charging money.
Yes.
If that money generated interest, please share it with the people and please find out. I wanted to ask a question, and this one is just for interest. Are you aware if the houses that are on auction that have been repossessed, if they are, number one, if maybe it owes at municipality, are you aware if the people that live there are still there? Are there ever issues where you buy a repossessed house and the family's there, they're like, hey, Baba, this is my home.
They're not going anywhere.
And you're like, no, Baba, I bought this to, I seen now. Does that ever happen?
And once the property is bought at an auction, those people are tenants. But
they are tenants.
Yes,
you can't tell me what you're telling me.
However,
saying it's and automatically saying nama tenant.
So nama tenants, but now you must also remember the laws in South Africa cater for the tenant more than the owner. You can't just evict somebody.
You're totally eviction order.
Yes, and it can drag.
And if they don't want to leave, and if they're like, no, we'll pay rent.
It can drag, you need to have money for attorneys. So what people usually do is they go and check out those premises, you know what I'm saying? And I think, unfortunately, most people that buy at auctions, unfortunately, is not a race thing or anything like that, but it's people that are from outside of South Africa, and they've got the powers to go in a property and say, hey, wena, sisithengile, ayigubhe, and obviously,
and use funny means.
Yes, and use funny means.
I want to give a plug, Caesar. I don't know if this is going to pick up on the camera. Please. Picks up. Digital marketing, crushing it on YouTube. Strategies for personal branding, marketing strategies, and social media success. Lelo N. Waga Kacheni. Or Kacheni you own.
Kacheni.
Or Kacheni you accept.
Yes.
Kodundlovu was too much. You must stick to the brand.
Yes, stick to the brand.
Social media success, personal branding, digital strategies.
Automatically look at Undlovu. So if you don't know that already, or is
this only isolated to Mhlampe, like your husband would one day Mandlovu Pela? So you can just call me N because you're not my husband.
Probably.
Please tell us about this book, Digital Marketing, Crushing It on YouTube. So I'm guessing this is for anyone because it sounds like it's specific to YouTube, number one, but maybe it's also generic.
Yes.
What is this book about?
It's specific. It sounds like you're right that it's specific for YouTube, but it's mostly about monetization online. you know. And the biggest platform right now where you can monetize, or the quickest platform right now, not really necessarily quick, but that you can monetize right now online is YouTube, you know. And it talks about personal branding. It talks about building your brand, your personal brand, because you, Penuel Mlotshwa, are a brand. The next person is a brand, you know.
Penuel M. Pen M.
Whatever. You know, so it talks about that. And it's mostly... let me tell you how I got into YouTube, you know.
Please.
I ran a company of my own, which was in Durban, Morningside. And it was a direct marketing company. I was teaching people how to sell for companies. I was a contractor for companies like Vodacom and Telkom, right? And I was teaching them to go out and sell telecommunications. For example, Tribal Media House needs a very strong Wi-Fi connection and blah, blah, blah. So I was teaching those people to go and sell to you. And most of the time, because you are this media house, you already have a connection. I was also teaching them how to upsell you on the connection that you currently have, you know. So then I got contracts like Telkom and Vodacom, you know, to work with them. And
you don't do that anymore?
No.
Whoever's doing it now sucks. Because I'll tell them, my networks suck. I hate phone calls, by the way, these cold calls. But I wish someone somewhere could just drop me a DM. I can give you faster what at a cheaper price. Because I'm always complaining about my network. Anyways, my apologies. Durban Morningside, direct marketing.
Yes. I actually started here in Johannesburg. And then obviously, once I made regional, I moved now to Durban to try and help you know, the sales that side. And I was specifically working with Vodacom when I moved that side. And it's direct marketing. You know, you have to go and see people. You have to go and see CEOs, speak to CEOs in order to convert them or get them those lines. And obviously, when the COVID-19 hit, you can't, you know, be in contact with people, you know. And when I started the business, I used my own funds. You know,
That's dope.
I didn't have an investor or anything like that.
What's my own funds? Where did you get money from?
From my savings.
Savings from where?
From my salary before that.
Oh, you were working?
Yes, because I was I was regional manager for another company. Managing their sales portfolio, you know. And then when I grew, I started my own business now that I've got a little savings or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? And so the upkeep of, you know, people, it's really nice to say, I want to be a business owner and whatever, you know. Not everybody's actually going to be a business owner. Some people have got to be employees, you know, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. But we were earning commission at the time. I as a contractor for those telecoms company, I was getting paid commission at the time for what my salespeople go out there and produce, you know. It would have been good given another year or two running the business. But it was bad because we hadn't got to that point yet. We were still running on our own funds mostly. And we just had to close it down.
Business is hard, boy.
Yes, I just had to close it down. And when I close it down, you know, I'm a very positive person, Penuel. You know when they say, should there be war, are you or a fight or something like that, or some unforeseen circumstance, are you a fight or flight? I'm a fight. I don't run away. Yeah, so let's just cut this. Okay, I was just going through, lockdown. A lot of people got through into social media during the lockdown. I was not really also a big social media person, but I was watching YouTube videos and I came across a lot of videos like Think Media, that are telling you that you can monetize on YouTube.
Is that a channel?
Yes.
Think Media.
Think Media.
Okay, that's a
plug. If
you
want to learn, I learned most about YouTube on there. That's where my story is going. I'll keep it short, and that's when I realized you can make money. And then I started researching videos of, because I want proof from Thomas, you understand?
Sure.
And people are telling me I'm getting 30,000, I'm getting 18,000. And for a normal kid that's coming out of school, instead of going out there and complaining about it, 350 a government, hey, government this and government this, stand up, best. So it's mainly for that, for employment. People must understand you can employ yourself by just being online if you're using the right channels.
This sounds too dope.
Yes.
Like that last bit. You don't have a job, maybe you matriculated, maybe you haven't, maybe you've been retrenched, maybe you're just looking for extra income and you're saying, look, this is going to teach you how to make extra money on the side.
Yes.
It might end up being your core money. It might just be extra money.
Yes.
YouTube being one of the best places.
It's one of the best places. YouTube.
Jeez, thank you so much.
And that's what happened. And then I started that whatever channel. It was change, but at that time, you understand, because it was rough, and I had to now move back home. We had cars that we had to transport from KZN. You hire these things, these cars, these trucks or whatever, that tow cars. They cost like 10,000 rand per vehicle, you know. And so that money actually helped me. I decided, I called my mom and said, you know what, I'm going to need to move back home and build myself up again. And that money is the money that actually helped me grow in real estate, because that very next year, I had that little income for petrol, because that money was for petrol for me to go out there and do my real estate. I became the top selling realtor that year as a first year realtor, because of that YouTube money.
Jeez, congrats.
So if it wasn't for that, where was I going to get my petrol to go? Because you must understand, as a realtor, the first 3-4 months, you know, if depending on how bad you are, you know, because sales is a tough business, you know, can take you up to 4 months to start making money, because you only get paid once the property is registered, or once you've built up a pipeline, then the money and the funds, the commission starts coming in, you know, monthly, every second month or whatever.
No, I hear it's a really tough space. A really, really tough space. A lot of the companies don't pay any basic. It's only commission. And if you don't have money, if you don't have a car from home, it's flames. That's when you get desperate. That's when you start lying to about pens or about the property, because you're just trying to close the deal.
No, property is your own business, by all means. Every time you are a realtor, you wake up in the morning, you must understand, this is my business. How much money do I feel like making today? Yes. So if you feel like making less, by all means, drag your feet. If you love money like me, money motivates me. Too much, especially when I make it myself. Especially when I make it myself.
Oh, when you make it for yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
And it opens me. No, you know what? I understand which women of today or whatever. I make my own money, number one. Number two, it opens up opportunities for the things that I like, that I bought myself. So it's actually, I enjoy it even more because of that.
No, thank you. You know, I was posting on Twitter, I think it was Twitter, on Instagram the other day, that I wish more how did I put it? Something about, I wish there were more women that were not like Instagram slay queens, who could get louder in terms of success. Because currently it looks like, for a young, ambitious girl, if you're not on TV, if you're not dancing on social media, if you're not married to a guy with money, you're not going to make it. And I know so many amazing women who work so hard. I've profiled some of them here. And it's important for young girls to know that that option is there. And it doesn't have to be academic. It's not like I got 8 A's in matric, then I went to go and study actuarial science. You can just be like, here's a girl, she got so marks in matric. To go to tertiary, and then she started doing this thing. And she used her YouTube money, and she started doing this thing, and now she's doing this. And I'm so proud of her. And she's pretty. She's beautiful, and she's not selling her body or these things. She's making her own money, and she's proud of it. So thank you.
I think South Africans are not ready for that, you know, or how we receive that type of information is not as, it's very taboo to receive that type of, you get lots of views or a lot of people following you, getting motivated by that type of content, where you're allowed about how you make your money, how you do your business, the possibilities of doing 1, 2, 3, even if you don't have 4, 5, 6, you know what I mean? Mostly the South African market, so the South African consumer of social media and online content, they more want witchcraft. If you talk about witchcraft, you are going to boom today. Yes.
Sorry.
You know, or if you are going to be talking about umjolo. So mostly on social media these days, what you're seeing is relationship this, relationship indodamasti, or what type of a person does a man want. Like, I don't care what type of a person a man wants.
There's a YouTube channel called Witchcraft.
Yes,
so I don't have to mention Kamala.
Yes. You know, there's not a lot of podcasts like yours where they're sharing information. They're inviting guests who can share certain information that sometimes you never knew that you needed.
100%.
You know, and even though it's a good podcast, you have some really good guests in your podcast. It's going to take longer to grow compared to a witchcraft or a umjolo podcast.
I agree. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for being you. And look, this is also important to say. Just because you're pretty and ambitious doesn't mean you shouldn't be a lady. If you want to be pretty, if you want to put on makeup, if you'd like a guy to buy you drinks, it's fine. But we also want to celebrate the women that work hard and make their money, you know, and enjoy it. I'm not going to mention the price of the book here. I think I'll put it in the description so that when the price changes, it will be easier. And we'll put a link.
It's actually doing well on Kindle and Amazon. I was so surprised, you know. I was talking to my mom and I was like, I can't believe this is me. People are buying my book.
Yes. No,
So
thank you so much.
It's available in online as well.
Are you comfortable to speak about the money you were making or you are making on YouTube? It's not a trick question. You can maybe even give a range so that people just have an idea, Nyana. Specifically, maybe when you started. Maybe that's easier.
When I started, my first paycheck, I think I've said this before, was about 28,000
That's
rand.
too much money.
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem...
That's too much money. My first paycheck was 3 stina.
Seriously.
It could have been 1,000 rand.
I think mine came in two payments, but it was like a week after the other. I don't know how it works because it's never happened again. Because the first time it was about 18,000, and then the 7 days later another payment came, and because it was in the same month, it was about 28,000 rand.
Congrats.
Yes. And then I don't want to make it like hiding information. You know, like I'm saying, we're doing this for the kids out there who want employment and stuff. The highest that I've made for me, and I'm not like an avid, I'm going to post all the time, 17 videos, 67,000 rand.
67,000?
Yes.
In 1 month?
Yes, and that's just a couple of months ago.
Congrats and thank you.
Yeah.
One of my wishes, I listened to Mr. Beast. I'm a fan of Mr. Beast and his hustle because he's arguably the biggest YouTuber in the world, or one of the biggest. PewDiePie and some other guys have big channels, but he's very big on sharing information. And I remember on the Joe Rogan Experience, speaking about when he decided to go serious on YouTube. He joined a group of guys and they would every day from morning till night discuss strategies on captions, on color schemes, on thumbnails. And within months, they all had over 1 million subscribers. So I've got this wish, and it's sad, Uti, I don't know if equality or what it is in this country, but most of the podcasters I've met almost prefer working in silos. They don't want to do knowledge sharing. And if ever, there's no way I'll ever tell you what my secret is. It's on this day at this time. It's because of this caption. It's because of people don't want to share.
It's like I'm so scared. It's because they view you as competition.
100%.
Sometimes you cannot be competition. We have two different personalities.
Correct.
We could interview the same guest, but we're going to do it a different way because we have two different personalities.
100%.
You know, and you must also, I don't want to now put it out there, like I made 67,000, my highest, it's 2 channels, you must remember that.
Okay.
And now, because this year, I think I've told you this when we were chatting, that I want to drive my real estate more than anything this year. I have opened up another channel, which is called Lelo, the realtor.
Focused on property.
Focused solely on property, showcasing closing property, viewing properties, what you should look out for, all of that. All types of property. I don't just cater for the luxury buyer because I love people. So I cater for people realistically. Sure. So we'll have middle class property. We'll have your average gassy property that's a good investment property or a flip property as well. Okay. So I'm going to cater for everybody on that channel as well. So I really just want to focus more on that. It's the promise I made to myself. Well, this year I'll share a bit more of myself than just me sitting and not really sharing much about myself.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I hope at some point I'll find like-minded people to have the knowledge sharing specifically from social media and to see if we can have like a South African social media A-team that can compete with the world, where we're like, guys, this month we did 50, 100 million within us, and we're beating Nigeria. We're now beating the UK, and stop competing with ourselves.
And then the real estate channel as well, it can, if there's someone out there who's watching who's a real estate agent, instead of just waiting for just posting on your agency portal and then have them market the property on your Property 24 private property and so on. You know, you have to have a virtual listing. It's 2024. You know, I sold a property to someone in Canada. I sold a property to someone in Saudi Arabia. You know, I literally had to take my phone, you know, and it's not something they teach you. You know, it's something that you have to figure it out yourself. How do I sell to this client who's so far away? Because for them, it's not so easy to just board a plane and come and view a property and then go back. You know, there's costs involved. And so I had to take my phone, WhatsApp, because WhatsApp and video call and all of that. But now it gets even better, because your YouTube can be viewed by a person that wants to buy property in South Africa who's sitting somewhere in Qatar, and they can watch YouTube, and they can, or maybe they can just go on the property sites and see my listing, but they wish, someone can tell them about the property inside the property. So with this channel, I'm going to be inside those properties that I'm actually selling. So it's not just for show to have you, Sabawell luxurious properties. It's properties that I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be inside those properties, and I'm going to be walking you through that. So if you're a realtor, it's important to have virtual property. If a client is sitting in Saudi Arabia, says, I want to see that property, I just send you a link.
Sure.
And because I'm in there and I'm telling you about it, you feel like you're there, and I send you an offer, you sign it, and Bob's your uncle.
Oh, that's too dope. I hope we can change the culture in this country. You're very right that we're very resistant to the type of content that is about building and selling. I was speaking even off camera before you got here about how we have this negative culture on selling. And I wish every South African, because you see it with the Asians a lot, some of the Jewish community, you see it with foreigners that are here, African foreigners that are in this country. Everyone is selling something. Even if you have a job, even if you have a business. The guy, when there was the COVID pandemic, they were selling masks, sanitizers. There were people, as soon as load shedding became a thing, they started selling solar panels and lamps. And we need to change the mindset of South Africans.
Yeah, we do.
As we close this off, you said you want to be sharing more of your personal life this year. So we can start now.
Not that personal.
Not that personally.
Not personal, Leo. Personal is in stuff that I do, work stuff that you can do.
What?
You know what? I don't know.
Oh, when so you're open to marriage now?
If the opportunity comes, I will.
Oh, so you're open to marriage now?
I've never not been open to marriage.
It sounded like you were anti-marriage.
I was anti. Everything is about relationship, marriage. Indoda must, umfazi must do this and whatnot. Okay. I'm not going to spend my life trying to find a husband. Okay. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay. People say, do you have a type? If I say I have a type, then I'm making, I don't know. If I say that I have a type, then I'm minimizing the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? But there is certain criteria.
All applications welcome.
Yes, to say I will not tolerate something like that. All
applications welcome. Decide.
Not really. And most guys are very needy. Men are needy.
How?
You know what I mean? And if you are... No, seriously. If you are seeming like you like working, you're a workaholic, and you can, hustle and get things on your own, for them, they view it as you don't need me. Therefore, you're very intimidating.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm also, I'm very assertive. So I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't want to be with someone that I won't listen to. No, please don't go there this weekend with your friends. I'm like, I win. You know what I mean? Yes, I would want to be like, okay, you've got authority.
Anyways, the last time I sat with you on your channel, I asked you a question. And you told me something, and then afterwards, escalator to head office. I spoke to your mom. Have you been considering kids? Yes, no? I asked you about your mom. You're like, oh, my mom doesn't really care about grandkids. And your mom was like, mina ngifuna abazukulu. Ulelu udlala rabi. Did you guys have a chat after that?
No, we didn't.
Oh. Are you going to give her grandkids? She's here in the room just on camera with mama. Ngazama mama. Hey, gonke is out of my hands now.
I don't know.
But it's a maybe.
Possibly.
Aw, siyabonga. Gogo. At least you heard me, so it's sizamile shame. Abazukulu hopefully are coming soon.
Yeah.
Lelo, and I don't know if you have any closing remarks before we shut it down.
No, just thank you, Penuel, for inviting me. It was really lovely to be here.
Appreciate you coming through, and I really hope we'll sit again, whether here on another platform. Maybe I'll come on a property visit with you and see what that's like.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Maybe collaborate with Usbuda, with the guys at Ekasi Noble as well, and see how we can assist them in everything they're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.